Okay, we'll start tonight's Planning Community Design Commission for April 4th, 2024 to order. Mr. Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Yep. Member Sam Wallach. Present. Member Tim Spiegelglass. Absent. Member Dana Rosenberg.
Present.
Member Laura Ragsdale.
Present.
Member Brian Lewis, present. Vice Chairman Carol Wagner.
Present.
Chairman Robert Jagal.
Present. Let it also be known that City Council Liaison, Councilmember Missy Waldman is in attendance, as well as our staff liaisons, Carlos Trejo, Olivet's Director of Planning and Community Development Department, Don Doty, Senior Planner, Jack Carswell, Planning and Zoning Administrator. Carlos, am I missing anybody who might be online?
No, sir.
Okay.
Everybody's up.
Good. Well, thanks everybody who's in attendance. We appreciate it. And do we have people online, Carlos?
No, sir. At this moment, we do not.
Okay, good. So I think I see some several familiar faces. So I just want to kind of go through the typical procedures of our format. We follow an agenda type program, so we go through items one by one. We do have a time for public comments at the beginning. And we ask that those be limited to, or we ask those public comments not be related to anything on the agenda item. If there's anything on the agenda item, there'll be time for public comments at that point in time. And for those who may be online, or
Nobody
no,
so far.
no one's online, so we won't go over the online version. So good. I'll speed things up. Okay, and if there are public comments, we ask that they be no more than 3 minutes to be respectful of everybody's time and to make sure everybody's opinions get heard. It's not that we have a large crowd today, but sometimes we do. So we implement that policy. All right, Carlos, did I miss anything?
No, sir. I believe you got everything covered.
Okay, good. So at this point in time, is there anybody in the audience that has a public comment for something that's not on the agenda item? Seeing no hands, but and nobody else is on.
Nobody online, sir.
So then we'll move on to other business, and this is item A 23 St. Alfred Road. Jack?
Good evening, Commission. So this item, I'm going to go through some of the previous stuff that has occurred with this item. So just to reiterate, this petition has originally appeared in October 21st of 2021, and due to section 440, I might have added an extra number, but 120 of the Code of Ordinance, it states that there's no site plan approval shall be valid for a period longer than 12 months, but due to disruptions with the global pandemic, staff was requesting that the Commission considers reapproval of the previously approved petition and site plan. The petition appeared before the Commission again on March 7th, which with material and elevation changes to the building plans that differentiated from the originally approved plans. And these changes included changes to the roof material, the exterior building material, and portions of the building elevations. However, the footprint was not changed. In terms of the city's residential redevelopment and design guidelines, the street elevations should consist of no less than 50% masonry, and the garage projections beyond the front building line plan that aim towards the street centers can attract attention to those garages rather than the home. However, when the initial design was unveiled to the Commission, the City of Olivet always encourages the developers and petitioners to submit creative and unique designs, and that is exactly what this petitioner did. So back in October of 2021, the Commission approved the initial design, although it differentiated from the initial design guidelines. So then the Commission approved the design from 2021 due to the unique architectural style, the material choice, and the creativity of the design. The new designs presented in March of 2024 kind of departed from what the Commission had previously approved with the change of materials and the elevations presented. However, of those that brought up those concerns with those residential redevelopment guidelines. I'm so sorry. I'm just making sure I go through everything. However, the plans that you have in front of you submitted as of March 28th depicted that the roof has now been reverted to the glazed ceramic clay tile, and that the exterior material has been reverted to the stucco or ephes that are all around the house. The concerns related to the rear elevation has also been addressed, and the newly submitted design incorporates the unique style of architecture and creativity that the commission initially approved. So then in front of you, you'll see that those designs, they're kind of dated. You'll see on the top left, there's the 2021, the ones that were submitted previously for 2024, and then the one as the lowest is the newest design that's been resubmitted. I can go through the different notes on the staff report if you'd like. However, it's already been presented. We already know that it's a new single-family home with the request to reapprove the petition for a two-story residence with the attached twin garages. I remember that the commission had some notes about those protruding garages. However, due to the material and the unique design, it was something that was approved. If there's any questions for staff, I'm here to answer them, as well as Carlos and Don.
Go ahead, Brick.
Is it fair to say that it's kind of reverted back to almost what it was in 2021 in both material and design?
I would say so, yes. However, there's changes with the rear elevation on that photo. You can
Yeah.
kind of see, but yeah, it's pretty
More
much
from the
reverted.
front elevation, because that was our concern.
Mhm.
If I remember, especially Tim's, like around that, the stucco and then the roof itself, but it sounds like it's reverted back to what we'd approved before.
Yes, sir.
Can you go back to the difference of the rear elevations, please? Okay. Okay. Go ahead.
So the floor plan has also shifted back to the original one, because I remember at one point, the floor plan had changed.
And that's correct. It's no longer, it wasn't a perfect square, but
Right.
it's no longer rectangular. It has some breaks along the two corners in the rear. And I can show you those here. And what you'll see up on your monitor now shows instead of having these extending all the way out, it's more of a projection, breaking up the mass.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Go ahead, Kara.
Can we go back to the rear elevation? Yeah. Yeah, so as I'm looking at this, the rear elevation is different than what we approved before. And that it comes, you see the roof line coming down and on this rear elevation, you don't. So but I don't have a visual of how it's gonna function.
Like,
It'd be more explicitly here, you'll see the break in, the original plan had a perfect, kind of almost a perfect square. And there was a projection. The revisions came in and they reduced the overall second level of the home, breaking up that mass in there into three components, and they continue to do so in here. The revisions we saw at our last meeting had this really this wall that went the full height, almost the full height of the roof peak here. That's been broken down to break up that mass along that rear elevation here. So you don't have that two-story dynamic here. Now it's kind of broken down, more mimicking this. These parts that you see here and here no longer exist. They're stepped back
okay.
in that elevation here.
Okay.
As you can see how this went straight across. It no longer does that. And that's part of, one of the things we encourage. Bear with me 1 second here. I should be able to. So this went all the way across and it was almost like, a rectangular block. When the revision came, they broke that into different planes here, here, and here. But you can see this part here became a very, a steep two-level effect. Now what they've done is that you have this, you have this, you have the upper level that's set back now as compared to being, on that same plane. And then you have a break in that rear elevation in there. So you start to get these different planes on there.
And the roof material is going to be the clay tile, do I understand that?
Yes, it's the glazed ceramic clay tile.
So I like this design that we're seeing now much better.
I agree, and I think they met our request and changes. And I think it's creative, especially, I know they wanted to remove some mass, but I think this is a much better way than the 321.
I like this too. And I like, I mean, the projecting garage fronts seem to be well integrated into the design.
I agree.
So, yeah, I like the angle, the glazing on the center exterior too. Looks nice. Well done.
Do we want to bring the petitioner on? Does anybody have any questions for them? Okay, seeing none, unless there's anything that you guys would like to present or describe, you're more than welcome to. No? Okay, good. So at this point in time, I'll just ask if there's any public comments from members in the audience that would like to discuss. I'm seeing no.
Yeah.
Carlos, is there anybody online?
There's nobody online.
Okay,
Chairman, I would like to note, I did share the revised plan set with Mr. Spiegelglass, who could make it today. And he was supportive with the revisions that were submitted. So
Good.
I did want to note that.
Thank
Okay.
you.
And then also to acknowledge, again, the process was a little bit more longer than usual, but I appreciate Mr. Kumar and his help in the process and patience of trying to get this through. You know, the city adopted the design guidelines to reflect the community's priorities and, you know, and why people are attracted to all of that in there. And then, you know, the first plan set, you know, one of the things that we noted was the lack of masonry, and that is a community priority in having a new residential development at least 50%. And it's our responsibility to bring it up. And we did to the commission. The commission felt, you know, given the design quality of what was proposed, you know, with the garage projections, the EFS, you know, the overall, you know, style and the material use, including the clay tile, you know, supported that creative or unique design aspect and leniency to some of those conditions. This was a good addition to our housing stock and all that. As the revisions came in and it started deviating from that process, it wasn't to make it more difficult. It was now we were in this conundrum that there was no brick that was projecting garages, and this no longer followed the pure or pure style of what they were trying to reflect, whether it's called Mediterranean or so, and that made it difficult for the commission to kind of balance. So we do appreciate what they've done here. You know, talking with Mr. Kumar, you know, it's the tiles are like over $200,000, you know, in that cost. But we do appreciate their investment in our community, and again, patience you guys have had through this process. This is a great addition for the subdivision and for all of that.
absolutely. Okay, well, let's, do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Carol.
I'd like to make a motion.
All right.
I'd like to motion to authorize the reapproval of the petition for site plan, community design, and the concept stormwater management plan review for a new single-family home located at 23 St. Alfred Road, as amended and presented in the memorandum from the Department of Planning and Community Development dated April 4th, 2024, subject to any staff conditions noted therein.
Motion's been made by Carol Wagner. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
And seconded by Brian Lewis. Carlos, will you please call the vote?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Wallach,
Approved.
Commissioner Rosenberg,
Approved.
Commissioner Ragsdale,
Approved.
Commissioner Lewis,
Approved.
Commissioner Wagner,
Approved.
Chairman Dragell,
Approved.
and the motion passes unanimously 6-0. The next step in the process is to apply for your building permits.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank
All
you.
right. We will move on then to our next agenda item, the 2024 comprehensive plan update and code revisions. Carlos, are you taking this?
Yes, Chairman, I'll make this quick. We are in the process of course, going through our code and putting together the updates to reflect the adoption of the 2024 comprehensive plan. And we'll be getting those in hopefully within the next month or so. And some will be minor revisions just to reflect the changes in years. Others will be significant revisions that will reflect some of the policy priorities that our community had requested in the 2024 plan. And then there will be other significant changes that would be reflective of some of the goals to implement some of the goals of the comprehensive plan. The one we've been talking about recently has been about the trees. We had some discussion at our last meeting regarding that. So in your dais packets today, and I just distributed out, I did go through Creve Coeur, Frontenac, and Clayton, and I will do Ladue next, but asked, did a search for trees and then codified all the sections that reference trees in there, and you have pretty much their whole codes within a context, because what some of the stuff we were getting were little bits and pieces. So I wanted to make sure that the commission was aware of that in there. And what we'll do and what we're working on is that we'll put it in this table format that's in front of you now. And bear with me, I need to.
I love these charts. It helps simplify, it goes, breaks it down.
Yeah, and then just visually, it's all right there, so much information.
Exactly, exactly.
So having a little logistic problem here. Stop the share. Okay, so there's everybody. Yeah, but it should have everybody live. Don, you're not on your laptop, correct? Does everything look right?
To see if it's being presented and recorded.
Because it shows us just the little all of that logo and that we're mute.
Sorry, it says recording up at the upper left. So yes, we are good.
We
Okay.
are just want to make sure that what's on the screens in front of us,
Ah,
as well as
It
on
is.
display.
yes, no, now I get it, cause
Yeah.
it.
No worries.
All right. There we go.
Great,
Sorry about that.
Thank you.
All right, so we're gonna get the rest of the remaining information once we acquire the information from Ladue, and then we'll add any other communities that the commission would like us to look into. And then we'll put it in here. So what I show you here on this table is Creve Coeur, Frontenac, and Clayton, how they compare in new house, do they require houses to go through a review process? They don't in Creve Coeur, they do in Frontenac and Clayton, and of course they do so in all of that. I also believe they do so in Ladue too. Do they require a landscape plan? In Creve Coeur, when you apply for the building permit, you're also supposed to submit a tree protection and replacement plan in there. And it's really interesting as you go through Creve Coeur's wording there. It kind of notes that once the occupancy has been issued, these conditions no longer apply. So again, once the developer's done, they issue the occupancy, the homeowner can go in and remove any trees that were required of the developer.
Right.
Or so. And that's interesting in two components. One is it's not the ideal way to do things, but two, there are times where, there's a bigger community benefit of getting that tree out before all the new construction gets put in place. And such,
it
and that's
needs
where
to
that
come.
assessment needs to come in.
Yeah.
Or that analysis becomes very important. In Frontenac and in Clayton, they do require landscape plans as part of their review process. And I think all of that should consider that in there. Now, within our ordinance, there is nothing that says that you don't have to submit a landscape plan. Anything that goes through a site plan review, the commission has the ability to request additional information or additional items. Same way with the community design review, there's some flexibility that the commission wanted a landscape plan. They can ask that we want that a landscape plan be submitted. And that's no different if you wanted a tree surveyor's report in addition to that. Now, as you get into the identification of existing trees on the site, Creve Coeur requires anything that's 6 inches or more. In Frontenac, it varies because they have this term that they use, this woodland area. And in the woodland area, anything that's 3 inches or more. And then if it's an individual tree, they're looking for 6 inches or more. Clayton goes by a completely different process. They're looking at canopy. They're not looking at the diameter of the trees. They're looking at how much canopy you have on the lot and then how much canopy you need to protect on that lot in there. Ours asks for 4 inches, anything 4 inches or greater in there. And I think 6 inches is probably the ideal in terms of requiring, or when it's significant enough or worthy of being shown in that. The replacement ratio in Creve Coeur, it's 1 to 1. And then they do have a thing called significant trees, and these are trees with a diameter of 25 inches or more, I believe. And they ask for 2 for 1 in there. The minimum caliper for the new trees is 2 inches. And they're in Frontenac, they ask for 2 for 1. Minimum caliper is 2 inches. Clayton, again, they're going by the canopy coverage, and it varies in terms of what the caliper should be in there. So completely different in there. And all of that, we ask for anything 12 inches or more should be replaced. That is anything 12 inches or more, or anything that's outside the buildable area should be replaced. And that's all that's noted in the guidelines. In terms of what type of caliper, there's nothing that's noted in there. And then what was interesting, or one of the things to take a look at. So when you have your application that comes before you, it shows the proposed house. It may show what's the existing environment and whether that house has been demolished yet or is still there. And there, all 3 communities required that the site plan that's submitted showing existing trees, that they reflect all trees that were there 1 year prior to that application being submitted. So again, if a developer bought a house and then they cleared all the trees, which they can, and then 3 months later they came and applied for a building permit or a PCDC review, and they showed, hey, there's no trees on this site, which it would be true. What these are saying is like, no, you go back 1 full year in there. I see that the logistics, there'd be some kind of issues of how you can tell, but with Google and aerial maps, they're pretty consistent. You should be able to go back and see, hey, something significantly big is gone in there. But that's that's kind of illustrated there. So I think that was something that the commission was kind of asking for us to put together. Welcome any input as we could, this is not the final table. We'll add more information. We can research more through these individual ordinances. I think they're worth kind of looking through. We'll continue discussions at our next meeting and on through May as we go through this.
Does anybody have any? Go ahead, Brad.
You may have covered this. I'm sorry, I'm just digesting all this, but do the like for like if someone replaces an oak with a sweet gum, is that, I'm just kind of curious how that falls in, where do we start playing on that?
It's in some of them, there was acknowledgements of, invasive trees or undesirable trees and all that. Well, we can go in a little bit deeper. What are some of the?
I'd just be kind of curious too, to see if that, because I'm not asking people to put in super expensive things, but we don't want just the cheapest, fastest, like a sweet gum, honestly.
Oh, in terms of replacement trees?
Yeah.
Yeah, there several of them, I think probably all 3 identified tree preferences.
Okay.
And there, some had pretty extensive lists, some said, from this grouping that are native to Missouri.
So there's a direction on it.
Mhm,
That's
yes.
what, okay.
Good question. Sorry about that.
Go ahead, Carol.
Okay. 2 things. One is, I understand the commission's desire to go after the low-hanging fruit first. That's easy. And I certainly agree with the approach of replacing trees. However, when one thing that I think we need to think about seriously, that really bothers me, is that when you replace a big oak tree and take it down, how many years is it going to take a new 2-inch caliper tree to grow into a mighty oak that you just tore down? In other words, you're replacing, but you can't you can't, number of trees versus the quality of the tree is totally not comparable. I mean, you cannot say that a 70 or 80-year-old oak tree, like what I have in my backyard, can easily be replaced by a new 2-inch oak. I mean, it just doesn't have the same canopy, doesn't have the same erosion control, doesn't have all kinds of things. And to me, the more important thing is for us to think about how do we save that big oak? Not how do we, come up with 1-to-1 ratios, but they really don't. They aren't really 1-to-1, not really. And that's what bothers me. It's when we tear down these massive trees. Now, granted, a lot of them are sick. They've been up for a long time and we've enjoyed them and they're reaching the end of their lifespan. And I get all that. Okay. But replacing them with new trees, that's not the same. And I want to keep that in front of us. It isn't the same thing. Okay? It may ease our conscience, but we're not saving these gorgeous trees. And we shouldn't deceive ourselves.
I don't think anyone's saying this is the same and this takes care of it.
Right,
Both can be true.
I just want to keep it in front of us. I'm not saying we're down the wrong path. I just want to say that we need to remember that.
Carlos, don't we have something that talks about like looking at the caliber of the trees and then there's like a ratio, so that way if there's bigger trees, we need to
You do
replace
have in the
them?
guidelines, again, going to that the far right column, within all of that, and I should have put in there, but or excuse me, it's that replacement ratio where, yeah, well, no, I go back to there, I could not find a reference within our code in terms of what type of caliper you should use to replace a tree, but you should avoid the removal of the trees outside of the buildable area.
Yeah.
In there at all costs, and if so, that you should replace those that are removed in there. But again, referring to, I think what Commissioner Wagner's referring to, so if there was a 8-inch tree and a 42-inch tree, and the 42-inch tree was being removed, you're just going to replace it with a tree. If the 8-inch tree was going to be removed, you're just going to replace it with a tree, the same caliper. And maybe that's where the clean one kind of looks at it from a different perspective, that they're looking at the overall canopy as opposed to the trunk of the tree, the type of trunk. I had to take a look at that closer, because what I didn't understand going through this initially, and I'm sure it does make sense, is that, how do you calculate that coverage in there? Now there's a lot of things you can do in Google, and I think Jack did a really good exercise in our last one. Either, a lot of the site plans, the majority of the site plans we take in will show the tree canopy, those little curvy lines that we usually see in the set in here, but they can always be very bear with me here, very deceiving. Here's this and here's that.
Yeah.
Where others you'll see, like it goes way out. So there's no consistency in terms of how those have been submitted, in terms of staff or our level of expertise to say, hey, this canopy just isn't right. It is a little difficult. I mean, we'd have to go out there and measure, from each one, and then go back to the computer and then measure, did they really get the full length of the canopy in there? Or it could be done, we did our analysis on number 12, Stacy, through Google. And I think I'm going to bring that up because I think, Sherman, you weren't here. And again, but I thought it was a good exercise Jack put together here. I think it was number 15. 12, where is 12? So here we did an analysis of what the sorry, guys. Ah,
I think the technology is great. It's quick, than what it used to be before.
Did I dream that up about the replacement ratio for certain
Now here's,
larger caliber trees?
there are some requirements, and I think this is why I wanted to bring it in the context of a whole and give you the opportunity to look at the whole ordinance as opposed to individual sections in there. In our subdivision code, the calculations and the replacements are different. And you do look at canopy and the shade area and all that to make the calculations. So here's an analysis Jack did, and you can see this one's 44 inches and how they went out with the spread. Here's a 33-inch tree and how they went out the spread. And to tell you the truth, so these must be two different types of trees, that one has a wider canopy, one's tighter. I couldn't tell you that difference, but so what we're trying to reflect here was, if you look at the amount of canopy coverage that you have on the site, that's not including these little ones along here, of what was being removed, to kind of show the difference from here. You have this is what you're going to have. And the developer was willing to add some additional plantings, in that. But
It's actually pretty good.
but again, we do require in our submissions that they provide us information on the canopy in there. If that is correct, that I've never measured, like, use a measuring stick to go from this point to the farthest point, or what I thought was the farthest point in there. But you can go again to a Google map, and we did look at that for this property and get an idea of what that coverage is. You can also go to a county map and look at something. And again, these would be, I think these are 2018 aerials. So they'll give us in context, but sometimes the best maps are taken late in the season. So you can see more of the trees don't have the shrubbery and all that. So there could be differences, but of course the county maps at least give you some idea of where the boundaries of the property are. But in this case, it's a little harder to tell the canopy or so. So there's a lot of different things. And again, I think, Commissioner Wagner, correct me if I'm wrong or not. And maybe that's what Clayton's intent here is trying to do is to look more at the coverage as opposed to the number.
It would appear that that's part of it.
Good point.
It is good.
I
Go
wanted to throw out one other thing.
Mhm.
I think when we're thinking about replacing trees for trees, that we really need to think about requiring that new planting be native.
Say that again.
The new
New
plan.
trees should be native trees to Missouri. We
I don't know the implications of that. You know what I mean? I mean, it sounds good.
Well, there's,
What's
yeah,
It looks like in Creve Coeur, just doing a quick scan, they have sort of an approved tree list concept in there.
we
So, good.
could make approved trees being native Missouri trees. I mean,
Well,
there's,
that's what I meant.
yeah, same difference.
Right.
Or give extra incentives, if they
Ye-
use native trees.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that native trees would be that much more expensive. Native trees are gonna be slower growing and developers don't like that. They wanna, they want fast, which is why we have lots of poplars and other things. Gumbo trees. But but those are the things that tend to deteriorate first, the non-native species. And then we know the native trees are better for helping us with stormwater and helping to stabilize banks and so on. They're better for the community and for our living environment as we go along. So I think it's something we should keep in mind. And when we talk about replacing trees, we need to think about replacing them with native trees, regardless of the ratio or how we do it. It's what are you replacing it with?
Yeah, I don't disagree. So as long as, the, cost is similar, stuff like that. I think there's always gonna be some people that are gonna want a specific style of tree, and we might run into an issue with that. But maybe we could just say if they put in that tree, it doesn't count towards the replacement ratio that's needed.
Whatever.
So just some thoughts. All right, anything else, Carlos, that we want to go over with these?
No, we'll continue to expand and make this a little bit more legible. We just accumulated those 3 communities in there quickly, and then we'll add Ladue. If there's any other communities you want us to reference, we'd be glad to do so. Again, we stayed within the neighboring boundaries. We could go to Webster Groves or Corkwood and all that to look at that, but this is, again, a majority of the developers we're dealing with are within these communities here. And they're not to say that somebody might be doing work in Webster Groves or Kirkwood, but this just kind of keeps us in that consistency area of the process.
I'm not saying to add
Mhm.
U-City, but maybe
can look
they
at
would
the-
have
yes.
some interesting,
That's a good point.
I think,
It's, that's not a problem.
yeah.
Let's see. We'll look at, I think they all referenced, the tree, the type of trees that should be replaced, and looking at the native trees, and then I think one of them had things that just to avoid or not to use in that process. So we'll take a look at that. We'll take a look and get into discussion on the arborist reports. What we should be asking for, what type of costs are associated with those type of reports to turn over, so the commission has some idea in there. So when as we're making those requests, what are the correct words or terms to be using to make sure we get a consistent and a full type of analysis, and give you an idea what that ballpark is too. So,
Good. That's great.
okay.
That's great. Well, it's nice to see we're moving along with this, so that's good. Any other discussions or comments about this? Otherwise, we'll move on. We'll move on to item C, meeting minutes. I see that we have 2 sets of meeting minutes, March 7th, 2024 and March 21st, 2024. Go ahead, Brian.
I was gonna I'll accept them, but on the 21st, Chairman Jurgal has mentioned a few times and he wasn't here. So it just probably need to be amended. So, no worries. It's mostly the last page, but yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'll accept them with that amendment unless you
Thanks.
dialed in.
No, I did not. I was hoping to, but we were traveling at the same time, so unfortunately we couldn't do it. So, but Jack, I appreciate your thoughts that I was here. I was with you guys,
Carol did a wonderful job.
You did fantastic. Thanks, Carol, for covering. I appreciate it.
welcome.
All right, so then we've acknowledged receipt of that with the corrections. So we'll move on to reports. Carlos.
Chairman, just a couple of things along the corridor. We're still doing the review for Audi. We've received comments back from, we use a firm called IBTS, which provides some assistance for plan reviews for communities to do so as these commercial projects get pretty complicated. So we used them for the apartments at Irvington Rhyme. We've gotten their comments back and should be issuing those in there, and then they'll go through their first round. So I still think they're a couple of months away before there'll be any activity or in there. Audi is waiting for our final comments in there, and they're pretty anxious to get going on their site in there, which is exciting. in there. We have no updates on Lot 3 at Olive Crossing in there. Their permit had expired because a building permit is only good for, I believe it's 18 months in there, but I, as the commissioner, have authority to, and that's the building commissioner as a commission, authority to grant up to a 180-day extension in there, and I gave them till June 30th. And that kind of stays within our budget year because we kind of calculate our resources like manpower based on what comes in the previous year, what gets carried over, how many people I need in there, so that, you know, that delay kind of impacts, you know, our requests in the budget every year. So they identified the issues was the current market and some backups with some financing to get that project up and moving. So in there. So Easy Storage is moving along. They should be looking for an opening pretty soon, probably before the end of the month. In there, they still haven't identified or at least disclosed the lower retail tenant. As soon as that application comes in, I'll be glad to note it to the council. So but it should be exciting. And there, the brewery, again, they're doing some modification works in the interior, waiting for their final permit to continue. And I think for our next meeting, we have an addition that's proposed and possibly a pool that would be coming for review. Outside of that, we'll continue working on the comprehensive plan in there. And then, Don, is there anything else or you want to note on the business?
Pardon me. Yes, we have, our EDC led a survey, public survey for Business of the Year and Restaurant of the Year awards. And we have determined that St. Louis Academy of Dance is our Business of the Year by popular vote, and also largely by popular vote, and then a tie-breaking vote amongst our commissioners. Olivet Diner is our Restaurant of the Year.
Wow, fantastic.
Yeah, so it was really interesting to see the feedback and so many people excited about businesses in our community. So it was heartening, to say the least.
Yeah, great.
And I'll be happy to share that information with you whenever I finish digesting.
Is it, I mean, it's public now, but you just presented it, but is it?
Actually, we are working very hard to get the award in order, like literally in order, and also invite the coordinate with the companies. They have not been actually officially notified yet, even though it was announced publicly last week.
No, great.
So,
Well, very exciting news. That's
Yeah.
great.
thank you.
Carlos, anything?
Then
more?
Jack, anything?
No?
Not
Not yet.
We have 2 additions. Yeah. So. All right, that's all we have, Chairman.
Okay. Missy, do you have your report?
Sure, thank you very much. Just this past week, the city council held a workshop. And within that discussion were the commission reappointments. And the discussion, beginning with the discussions of the fiscal 2025 city budget. And the beginning of the discussions again with regard to the use of the ARPA funds. We have to know what we're doing with those funds by the end of 2024, and we really have to be expending them and having the projects done by 2026. The council has identified, the Dillman Road, Price Road area as an important infrastructure improvement. Without the good support of the financials of what we're getting from this ARPA, the city could not get this accomplished on its own, but it can with this partnership. So hopefully that will be coming down the pike soon. Monday's total eclipse day. I hope we're here and able to put our little glasses on and see it. The city council meeting of April 9th has been canceled. Okay, there is no reason to hold that meeting. I will be attending a Fallon's fundraiser for Officer Madison that's going on at Fallon's on Thursday, April 11th. Please come spend your ducats and give some ducats to the cause. April 12th, I will be attending the chamber breakfast with new businesses and welcoming them. On the 15th, I will be attending the municipal executive board meeting. And the city council will not have its usual reorganization meeting on Tuesday, the 23rd of April, because it is the second night of Passover. So the council will be meeting at 5 Oaks at 7 o'clock on Wednesday, April 24th. At that time, we will deal with the changing of the guard and recognizing the certification of the election for Mr. Sidney Clark. And then we will begin the traditional, different mayor face and where are we going down for this year? So with that, I wish you all the best. I thank you for what you do. And if you have any questions, please feel free.
All right, great. Sounds like a busy schedule. Carol, did you want to say
Yeah,
something?
yeah. So I want to tell everybody that I'm going off the commission. I have been doing this for 30 odd years. And I need to stay home on a Thursday night and experience that. I haven't really done that. It's just, I've got too many things going on. I just need I need some space. And something's gotta give. So I've gotta start getting rid of some stuff, and this is one of them. But I've told Rob and I've told Carlos, and Missy knows, if the commission needs anything, I'm just a phone call away, and I'd be happy to sit down and help anybody or talk over anything, or I can come back to a meeting and throw stuff around if you want,
Kick me under the table.
take Rob out of the table. Somebody's gonna have to take over that job and be willing to keep Rob in the, on the straight and narrow.
And I need that help.
So, my last meeting will be our next meeting. And then I will go off. So I just wanted to let you all know, and it's gonna be hard, but it's time. Commission's in a good place. We've got a new plan. Go forward. I've been to one whole planning cycle, which is rare, to say the least. Nobody else has ever done that. And I'm not, this is a volunteer position. It's not an appointment for life. It's time to let somebody else have a shot and do their thing.
So Carol, I know you've been here for at least 24, so I know it's over 30. When I first came, it was Sanford Goldman getting an award for over 35 years. Your knowledge, your skill, your dedication, your mourning and groaning to me about things have been much appreciated. You are a true asset to this community, and your skill set will be missed. I do want to remind everybody that Carol's position is a professional position that is in the requirements of this board. So there will be some level of an announcement made through the way we communicate to our community. But at the end of the day, it will be a professional that we will be looking at, in your replacement. Godspeed to you. I'll continue to enjoy you with our GNOs.
We have a great board here, but we are missing a really key players. And we are gonna miss all the guidance that you brought and everything that you've kind of helped us along the road, especially with new people. I remember when I first joined, you were very helpful in kind of explaining the ropes and guiding, everybody, not just me, but maybe I needed it the most, but but guiding everybody to, what our role is, what our policies are, and how we need to do things. And greatly appreciate all the hard work, dedication, the frustration that you might have had with us at times. But this has been a great board, having you a part of it, and
Well, thank you.
it's been great. So
One
You
more
will be
meeting.
missed.
One more meeting.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not going yet.
But we might bring you back for every now and then from time to time, so.
You may bring me back. It's okay.
All right, good, good, good. Anybody else have any questions or comments or announcements? All right, with that being said, we will adjourn tonight at 7:53. Thanks. Sanford would be proud.